Christina with Summers Haven, and I'm coming at you with the block for the Louisiana Block of the month, and this month is the Magnolia quilt block. So you can see it right there. That's the Magnolia quilt block. So that's our block for this month. It will have this particular block was first seen in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Around that time, the quilters began incorporating a lot of regional flora into their designs. And these were widely associated in the American South, where the magnolia has long symbolized hospitality, grace, and enduring strength. In Louisiana, the magnolia carries an added layer of meaning. The state was a filming location for Still Magnolias, a story that came to represent the quiet strength, resilience, and deep bonds among women. Over time, the phrase Still Magnolias has become a shorthand for women who faced hardship with grace, humor, and unwavering support for each other. As a part of our sampler quilt, the Magnolia Block honors both the natural beauty of the state and the strength of the women who have long gathered to sew, share stories, and create together. So that's the history of our block this month. I do want to take a second to talk about coloring, because generally in our patterns we're referring to medium and dark, but sometimes what we're actually giving you in the package might be two mediums, or it might be challenging to think about like which one might be the medium versus the dark. And so we had this conversation during our Saturday live demo. In this particular one, I've used the dark. It's obvious that these are the dark and those are the medium. However, in our live demo on Saturday, we were doing the Lori Holt version. And as you can see, the yellow would probably be classified as lighter than the turquoise color or the teal color here. But as we were looking at it, we really liked the idea of the yellow being the center of the magnolia and this feeling more like a leaf on the magnolia bud. So we decided to go with the yellow where the dark might have been, and with the kind of teal color here where the medium is in the pattern. So before you cut your fabric this month, be sure to take a quick look and really be thoughtful about where do you want those to be placed in your quilt block. So this is what it might look like to do the yellow as the dark and the teal as the medium for the Lori Holt version this month. This is the posh version where we've got the black fabric, or it's actually a dark, it's like a slate gray, a dark charcoal gray color here, and then you've got more of like your taupey or your khaki color here for your medium. So that's what the posh looks like. For the fabrics for the Mardi Gras, you will have this purple as your dark, and you will have this green as your medium. And then for Parlor, you have a purple for your dark, and you also have a green for your medium. And I'm actually going to be demonstrating now in the video using the Parlor this month. So that's going to be the one that I'm going to be using for the video this month. If you came for the live demo, you know we did the Lori Holt during the live demo. And here in the video, we're going to be doing it with the Parlor. All right, so I'm going to get started. I've already cut all my fabric. I will tell you before you cut your fabric, one easy way to give yourself just a little bit of leeway with your sizing and making sure you get an accurate 12.5-inch unfinished block is there are some strips that you're cutting from your background. So from your fabric A, there's some strips that you are cutting. You can cut those strips longer and wider than what they're calling for, and that's going to be for that border on the outside of your block. So you can choose to cut those strips wider and longer than what they are in the pattern, And what that will do is it'll put you a bigger border around your block, a bigger background border around your block that you can then trim down to your 12.5 to make sure that you get that accurate 12.5 inch. So if you're someone who likes to do that, who likes to make it bigger and then trim it down, that's an easy way on this month's block to make that happen, because we're actually going to be adding a little background border to your block as one of the last steps. So that's an easy way to make it a little bigger and trim it down if you want to do that, is just to make those background strips a little longer and a little wider than what they're listed at. And you have enough fabric to do that. There's enough background fabric in your kits this month to do that if you choose to do so. All right, so I've already cut my pieces. I've got them ready to go, so we're gonna get started. And we are going to begin with making the 4-patch units. So for the 4-patch units, I'm going to start out by pairing up my dark and my medium squares. I've got those here. And I'm working with the Posh. That's the one we're going to be using for the example, not Posh, the Parlor. That's the one I'm going to be using for the example. So I'm going to pair up 8 pairs. 8 pairs of the medium and the dark. And I'm going to sew those together along one side, right sides together. So while I do that, I'm going to pause and get that done. So I'm going to stitch those together, right sides together, 1/4 inch seam along one side, and then I'll give it a quick press to the dark side before I come back. Okay, I have my 8 pairs. They've all been stitched together and they've been pressed to the dark. So now I'm ready to pair these up to make my 4-patch units. And I'm going to do that by putting them right sides together and nesting them. Because I've pressed to the dark, each of those seams should be going in a different direction, allowing me to nest these right into place. So I'm going to put a pin right there in the seam to hold that into place while I stitch these together. And I'm going to do all 4 of these with a 1/4 inch seam. And they'll nest just in there perfectly so that you have your little 4-patch. So I'm going to do all 4 of these, and then I will give them a quick press and I'll be right back. Okay, I've pressed all 4 of them. Those are all my 4-patch units. I've pressed them and I've also squared them up. So I've taken the measurement that's indicated for this unit in my pattern and I've squared that up with my square ruler. So these are all ready to go. And now we're going to be assembling our flying geese units. And each of the 4 corners is going to need 2 flying geese units. But there's 2 different kinds or 2 different colorations of the flying geese unit in this block, and it's really important that you get the color placement right, or else your block won't come out the way it should be with the Magnolia blossoms. So what you're going to do is you're going to create 4 flying geese with the medium on the one side. You're going to create 4 flying geese with the medium on the left, and you'll create 4 flying geese with the medium on the right. So in the case of this parlor, I've got 4 that I'm going to do with the green on the left, and I've got 4 that I'm going to start with the purple on the left. So I'll do 4 like this, and I'll do 4 like this, and then I'll come back and I will do the other side with the opposite color. So now I don't usually draw my lines on these because I use diagonal seam tape here on my sewing machine. So I don't usually draw my lines, but I do always write it into the directions for you to draw the lines. So you're going to draw a diagonal line here. I'm using a friction pin right here, so it's going to come out, it's going to disappear with heat. So when I press it, it'll come right out. Let me open this up. Okay. So I'm going to stitch that diagonal line across here. Okay. And then I can use either my rotary cutter or my scissors, and I'm going to trim 1/4 inch from that seam, and then I will push that corner out just like that. And I'm just finger pressing right there, but you can give it a quick press with your iron. Now this one is ready for me to do the next step, which would be to put the purple on the other side. All right, so now I'm gonna make 4 like this, and I'm gonna make 4 with the purple on the left, and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is what it looks like to have the left side done for all of my flying geese units. So you can see I've got 4 with the purple on the left side, and I've got 4 with the green on the left side. So now I'm going to add the other side here. So for my purple ones, I'm going to place a green square on them, and I would draw that line. If you're going to be drawing your line, I use my diagonal seam tape, and then I would just stitch that into place with that diagonal seam. Trim 1/4 inch from that seam, flip it open, and there's my flying geese unit. So I'm going to finish out all of my purple ones by adding the green, and I'll finish out all my green ones by adding the purple. Then I'll give them all a press, and I will square them up according to, or trim them according to the size that's listed in my pattern, and then I will be back. Okay, I have pressed and I squared up all of my flying geese units. Now I'm ready to start laying out my block. I really like to use one of these. It's a design board. I made this one. You can buy them pre-made, but I did make this one. It's just made from that foam core board that you get from the poster aisle at Walmart. And then I've just glued some batting to it. It's got quite a bit of thread on it. Right now I need to run my lint roller over it. And then it's just got a little bit of leftover bias tape that I just put around the edges. It's really great for a block like this where you want to make sure you're getting the orientation right as you're laying your block out. Okay, so I'm gonna start in the center. I'm gonna put a dark square in the center, and then I will start laying out my other pieces. So I'm going to put a dark square, then I'll put one of my background strips here and here, and then there'll also be a background strip here and here. Next, I'm going to lay out my 4 patches. My 4 patches are going to orient around the center just like this. You see how it's already coming together. It's beautiful. Okay. Those are there. Next, I'm going to get my flying geese units in place, and they are going to match up with the dark. So dark to dark, medium to medium. And I'm going to go all around doing that. Remember that there are 2 different, there's the ones with the green on the left, and there's the ones with the purple on the left. So you need to make sure you're grabbing the right one so that you can match medium to medium and dark to dark as you're putting these into place. And we just about got those in place. There's the last one. Look how gorgeous this is. Okay, now we're ready for the last 4 pieces. And those are going to be these small squares, 4 small squares that are on each of the corners, and those are from the background fabric, just like that. The only thing we don't have added yet are the borders, the background borders that we'll add at the end. So my first step, I'm going to put together these corner units to make my magnolia blossoms. And to do that, I'm going to take a 4 patch unit and its accompanying flying geese unit. I'm going to pin those together and stitch them with a 1/4 inch seam. Done. Now I'm pressing it toward the 4 patch. I'm just doing a little finger press there. Then I'm going to go and I'm going to stitch my other flying geese unit to that background corner piece. And I'm going to finger press it toward that background piece. Now, I'm going to take these 2 units that I've put together and I'm going to nest those seams, putting a pin right up next to it to hold it in place while I'm stitching. I'm also going to match up the point of my flying geese unit with the other seam in the 4 patch. And I'm going to put a pin there to center it. And now I'm ready to stitch a 1/4 inch seam along there to finish my flower corner units. And that is there. Okay. So that's my flower corner unit. How beautiful is that? Okay. I'm going to do the other 3 the same way, and then I'll give them all a press, and then I'll be back. Okay, all 4 corner units have now been stitched, pressed, and squared up. I do want to point out something in the pattern that we noticed after we already had them printed. The program that we used to generate the images added a line right here. So you'll see it in the pattern. You'll see that there's a line right here in the background fabrics, and EQA will do that. Sometimes we'll add a seam line where there is no need to have a seam line. So there is no seam there. So there's no seam in that background fabric in those places. Even though it shows it in the image. So I did want to point that out. There's not a seam there, that's one piece. Okay, so my next step is to put these rows together, and then I will attach the rows to each other. So I'm going to stitch here. I'll attach one of my corner pieces to each side of this background piece. And then I'm just going to finger press toward the background fabric. I'll attach the other side, and I'll do the same. I'll finger press toward the background fabric, and once I have all my rows done, I will give them a quick press at the end as well. Okay, so I've got this row is together here. That row is all together there. I'm going to do the same with these other 2 rows. Then I'll give each of those 3 rows a press, and then I'll be back. Okay, these have all been pressed and are ready to go. I'm just going to attach this row here by putting them right sides together, and I've pressed these seams out and those seams in so that they're going to nest perfectly here. So I'm going to take those seams, nest them up close to each other, pin that into place on both sides there to hold them in so that they don't shift while I'm sewing. Then I'll put just a couple of other pins in place to keep everything aligned while I sew those seams. Once my pins are in place, I'll do a 1/4 inch seam, right along here, and then I will have these two pieces attached, and then I'll just need to attach the one more. Okay, everything is pressed, the block is all together. Our last step is to add these little border strips from the background fabric to bring it to 12.5 inches unfinished. Now, I mentioned earlier that this is an easy place to, if you're someone who likes to make things a little larger and then trim them down to ensure that you have an accurate block, this is an easy place to do that. You have enough background fabric in your kit that instead of making these the lengths and widths that are stated in the pattern, you can make these both longer and wider to put these borders in place and then trim them down to 12.5 inches. And so if you're someone who likes to make it larger and trim it down, this is an easy place to make that happen. And you do have enough fabric in your kit for that. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the smaller strip, one to each side, and then I'll attach to the larger strip to the other side. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll be back. Okay, all right, all 4 of my borders have been added. I've pressed all my borders, and then my last step is just to square up my block to 12.5 inches. And as I mentioned before, if you want an easy way to get this to 12.5 inches, when you do your cutting, cut your borders to be a little bit longer and a little bit wider than what it's calling for, and that'll make it easy to trim it down to 12.5 inches. So that's our block of the month, our block number 4 for April for Louisiana Block of the Month, and that's the Magnolia Block. And this is the Parlor colorway, and so that's one of our 4 colorways. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed it this month, and we'll see you again next month.